All right, we have a visitor. I've been inside the bins and greasing and whatnot. We are going to do bee extermination today. Everyone say hi to Kevin Malda.
Hi everybody.
He's the guy that I told that lady when she got a hold of me about farmer needs a wife. I suggested him to her. Apparently she never called you.
Never heard from her.
Never heard from you.
No, I'm not a Democrat.
All right, so he's got the coat and the hat. He doesn't have any gloves. You want gloves?
I'll chance it.
All right. He's got jeans, so you sure you don't want gloves? I can get you gloves.
I've never been stung.
Oh.
But I've been kissed many a time.
You've never been stung by a bee in your life?
No, but like I said, I've been kissed many a time.
Yeah. I've been stung too many times and I'm allergic, so we're gonna even try to. All right, hopefully you're zoomed in. And if all of a sudden 100 bees come flying down here towards me and you see me running away from this thing, you'll know why. Ooh, that messes with my vertigo. Oh. I gotta get back farther. It's too wrenching on the neck. I'd say about another 10, 12 feet, you're coming to where there's quite a few of them. Worst problem is we don't have a clue where the nest is. I know somebody suggested put the drone up. I thought about that too, but there's so many guide cables and everything else. I'd wind up crashing the drone. I'm trying to stay here between the bins because I'm afraid if I get out next to them over there, I'll be shining you up into the sun. So hopefully you can see. I don't know, let me move over here. Yeah, that ain't so bad. Oh, I'm gonna lean back against the bin so I don't fall over. You see anything yet?
Nothing.
I wonder if it's up on the platform somewheres. Well, you're gonna find out about another 15 feet from the looks of it. I do wonder if there's a slight hole in a seam somewheres and the fuckers have made a nest inside. Somebody mentioned that on the last video. I don't have the computer hooked up to turn the leg on yet. Oh, if I'm shaking you around, folks, I'm sorry, but this is killing me looking straight up like this. I'm going back over here. Going back over here. Oh, that's rough on the neck. I don't know whether you can see as well over here or not, but or maybe stand on the platform and just spray the living shit out of everything. It looks like a ton of them right above you to the left where it kicks out of the top of the leg into them spouts. There's a whole bunch of them flying around there. And like I said, if pissed off bees come this way, I'm out of here. There will be no more filming. I know, riveting video. What can I say? I know I have seen a few nests up underneath the sills of the bins when I was climbing into that bin earlier to grease the inside. Seems like it's been a horrible year for bees. Oh, he's spraying. That didn't work so good.
That was close up there.
Yeah, that walkway's closed. But I can get a pail and put it in it. Alright, turning you off for now. Alright, Preston, you'll be happy when you see this. He's got the pail. He's gonna grease it and lube the chain while he's up there. So you won't have to. Well, this time. Halfway through the season you will. Alright, turning you off. Nice bird's nest that was inside the shield where the belts are. He put in the pail. Sun down. He's on his way down now. I told him to stop a few times and spray the shit out of things. Oh. Hopefully by the time we do it halfway through, they're somewhat dormant. Rotten bastards. I hate things with wings. Birds. Bees. You got 3 or 4 that are following you down. So you got 3 or 4 that are following you down.
Well, they know I'm a sweet guy.
Yeah. Well, there ain't near as many flying around up there, so obviously you got a lot of them. Even though we never really found a nest. Or I should say you never found a nest. I'm curious to see if it will be inside. Fire that bitch up and see the bees flying out of there. So just to tell you the backdrop, why Kevin's here. Kevin and his family used to have a farm. What are you, probably 3 miles away?
Yeah, I'd say that.
About 3 miles away, that way, in Ira, towards where the one farm is that I work there. Basically down the other side of the muck area. And he watched the video this morning and texted me and said, "Hey, I got a bee suit. Want me to come over some afternoon?" Y'all know what my answer was to that. Yeah, a resounding, "Fuck yeah, what are you doing this afternoon?" And here he is. And I don't...
He doesn't like to wait.
No. Well, I don't see near as many bees flying around up there now, so obviously you just spraying around up there. And those bee cans say on them, if you spray the nesting area, it'll kill them and they won't come back, so hopefully that's the case. But all right, so bee problem solved for now with Bee Man. I was just changing my phone to Bee Man now. All right, and like I said, I hate things with wings, rotten bastards. Good Tuesday morning. Yeah. Just finally, it's like 11:45, getting able to do something. And then I have to be in Auburn at 5 for a legislative meeting tonight. Yeah. I'm gonna grease the dryer, get that done with. Just getting out here now because I had to help the wife take the 2 cats to the vet this morning. Yes. When only one goes, she does it, but when 2 goes, she needs some help, so I gave her a hand with it. Got this sticker in the mail. Do not get in the cattle cars. Yes. From a Bill Breadman, something like that. Hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. I don't know. I thought you would like this. It's a reminder and a warning to never let it happen again. Yeah. In other words, it's a reminder to the sheep to wake the fuck up and definitely do not ever let it happen again, because a lot of people failed the biggest social experiment that this country's ever seen over the last 3 years. And you know they're going to do it again, especially with Trump now showing in the polls that he's not only kicking the living shit out of any other, Republican in the primaries, but last poll I saw, he was like 9 points ahead of Biden. That won't sit well with the Democrats. We know that. So, yeah, we know games will be played again. Don't let the games be played, people. All right, I just took this side panel off the dryer. I went in and greased the bottom of the wet bin auger. That grease fitting. I took this side panel off because I gotta climb in here and grease the bearing on the end of the shaft here for the fan that goes across. Same shields on the other side, but I'll just crawl through to grease that same, bearing on the other end of this shaft. Then I gotta crawl under there. You can see that one grease tube hanging down. I gotta grease that. I gotta crawl up on top. Oh, there's a grease fitting inside that shield there for the shaft that goes across the top that brings the corn across, which for all of you newbies, if you're in a hurry, you can go back to like last year's fall videos and learn about it for you non-farmers, or you can wait till we start harvesting and I will show you how everything works. I gotta climb up there and grease that. I gotta grease the couple of bearings on each side of the bottom of the leg, and then we will pretty much be done. I got the one auger out back behind the shed there. It's got to come out. That's the wet bin auger that'll go up to, the wet bin here. I still got to grease that, but it's kind of parked in weeds right now, so I figure it'd be easier to grease when it comes out. But yesterday, and I didn't show you because by the time Kevin left and we bullshitted for a little while and whatnot, I finished greasing the insides of these bins, the augers. I took the tarp off, greased both of the the bearings on the discharge augers. I got the bottom of the auger greased in there. I got the PTO greased. Now this bin still has probably 10, 11 ton in it of corn. We're gonna save that to fill the dryer. All right, I'll explain that right now. Plan on doing beans first. But what we always did when we switched to corn, let me walk around here so you can see. We got a flipper valve up on top of this bin. You can't see it, but it's up there where that box is and whatnot. And we would let the corn run out that pipe you see into a truck. What I would do is, if I started with, let's say 21, 22% corn like I did last year, I set the computer to 15% for dry. I would let the corn run out that pipe into the truck. Usually it would take not a lot, to be honest. 6-8 ton in a 6-wheeler it would fill. And when it got down to around 16-17%, I would switch the handles on the grain leg over here, which I'll show you that while I'm doing all this explaining. I would switch these here to where I wanted it, for what bin I wanted it to go in, because 16, 17% corn on the bottom of a bin, getting all the air, or getting, you know, hit with the heaviest of the air when you got those fans on that you see on the outsides of the bins. That'll dry it down to 15 easily. So I would flip it so that it would start feeding into a bin. Then I would just take that truck, dump it back into the wet bin, let it go back through, and we would go. But if we were to do, let's say, corn, and then we'd switch to beans, and then we'd switch back to corn, I'd have to drain the dryer out of any beans that were in it. And rather than go through that process all over again of running corn out the back till it got to where I wanted it, I would just take dry corn out of whatever bin I was filling, fill one of the 6-wheelers with 10, 11 ton, put it in the wet bin here, and then fill the dryer, because that's about what the dryer holds, is 10 ton of corn. And then I could just start right in and not have to worry about babysitting the dryer to, you know, switch it when it got down dry enough. So my hopes are we are going to finish all of our beans and then switch to corn. And when we do, we're going to use that last 10, 11 ton that's in that bin to fill the dryer, so that we can just start hammering away and not have to play the game of, you know, waiting for it to get down to 16 to 17%, switching it to the dryer, or switching it to a bin and dumping that back in the wet bin, blah, blah, blah. So, and even if we don't finish beans because the weather turns shitty and we switch to corn, I'll still have that corn to start with. And then if we go back to beans, finish them up, and then go back to corn again, I'll have dry corn in the bin to be able to put some in a truck, dump it in the wet bin, fill the dryer, not have to worry about doing that. Or taking the floors out, which, yes, you can do that for you farmers that'll say, well, batch dry it. Yes, I can take the floors out in there so all the heat goes down through the entire dryer, and I can batch dry the first load. That's a pain in the nuts, because this is what they call a heat cool dryer. So in other words, everything from that floor you see in there, so about here up to that floor is where the cool corn is, and the burner's right above us here inside, so everything from there up is where it's cooking the corn. So it heats up there, then it cools down some. It doesn't cool it right down. If you're cooking the corn at 220 degrees, it's probably coming out of the back of the dryer at between 90 and 100 and going into the bins, and that's why you turn your fans on. But anyways, that's enough explanation. I'm going to start greasing. You don't need to watch me grease, and it's kind of hard to hold the grease gun, pull the trigger, and have the end on the grease fittings and hold the camera at the same time. Alright, so now I'm standing up on the dryer. Raccoons, even with a couple old cat fresh things out here, the raccoons have to come up and shit. So I have to grease fitting in there. Go down, grease the one on the end of that. The load auger for the dryer here from the wet bin. So for you non-farmers, the grain will come out, the hopper down there in the bottom. I don't know if I'm pointing to the right spot. I set the gate as to how fast I want it to come. Goes up that auger, drops in there, comes down. There's an auger that's in here on top to fill every one of these columns. This thing here pivots to tell it when to stop. When the grain hits that and pivots it, it'll stop filling. So your first time you fill, it's filling every column, one column at a time till it gets to the end here. Then as it starts slowly settling, going out the back and up the grain leg and into bins, as it's drying, it just automatically kicks on when it needs it, feeds it down through evenly till this tells it to stop. So I gotta clean some coon shit up now and then grease these rotten bastards. Alright, so everything is greased, like I said, other than the wet bin auger, which will be out here. Yes, tractors have to get moved. I will mow this again. I plan on contacting Colin this weekend and finding out if he's Gonna do that so that we can get that hooked onto the cart, because the cart's still got to be greased. That's about it. So hopefully this year, let's see, zoom in. That motor up there, if I'm pointing in the right direction, on top of the dryer from the wet bin auger, that was brand new last year because the other one took a shit. The motor way up there was brand new last year. For those of you who were here last year, at about 750 bucks a pop. So hopefully we have a better motor here. Now, like this big bad boy right here, I obviously greased the shaft coming out. This is your belts. If I was to have taken off this shield rather than the one on the other side, well, you can kind of see them in there. That's where the belts run up to that pulley for the big fan shaft that goes across, and that fan turns. No, when that's on, I can't show you that this fall, because that would be, no, you can't go in there when it's running. That's not a good program. But like the ends of these motors, and I don't know, farmers, you might disagree, chime in if you'd like. I've had too many motors that I've sent to the guy to be rebuilt where he tells me, stop greasing the ends where the fans are so much, just like one pump, maybe not even do it every year. Because if you over grease them, it gets in there, the fan blades just spit the grease all over the place, and that's how you ruin windings in a motor. So I don't think that was the issue up there. And yes, I do see bees. You probably don't, but it'll be interesting when I'm gonna get the computer right now and put that in the computer room here. So maybe I'll flick the, sorry, I don't know what I was pointing at. Flick the lag on and see what happens. But yeah, we're supposed to go up to 80 the end of the week for like 3 or 4 days. That's not good weather to get rid of bees, but everything else is grease, like I said, the discharge augers on all that. So basically we are about ready. Hopefully the first part of next week they come back with my corn head and we get the combine out and we get everything calibrated again, because like I told you in a previous video, which one I have no idea, when we did the software update earlier in the year, yeah, we lost everything. So all the settings, all the field names, and yeah, we get to redo all that again this year. Yay. So we're getting there. All right, so I'm gonna end this long, boring video. If you made it this far, I commend you. Some of you may be waiting for the one more thing. Some of you probably even scroll through to get to it. I never meant that to be a thing, but I just started saying, oh, and one more thing, because I'd think of something. And now I got people going, hey, we need the one more thing segment. So I guess it's a segment. So here you go. Here's your one more thing. Like talking earlier about the sticker that I just put up, don't get in the cattle cars. We have an election coming up that, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, could be the most important election in our lifetime. Because whether you hate Trump, see, that's the part I don't get. Just because you hate somebody. Here's an experiment I'd like to do. 23 years from now, okay? And the reason why I'll tell you 23 years from now, because that would be a child born today would be through high school and should be through college. So at 23 years old, I'd like to take the first 3 years of Donald Trump's presidency, have it on paper, what happened, versus the first 3 years of Biden's presidency. Because let's be honest, the 4th year of Trump's was the pandemic, where they said, oh, Trump added $7 trillion to the national debt. Let's not fucking lie about shit. Let's remember that bipartisanship, the Democrats and the Republicans agreed to like $3 trillion worth of COVID relief. And yes, Trump added to it, but let's take the first 3 years of his presidency, $1.80, $2 gas, cheap food, everyone's retirement funds, IRAs, 401ks, whatever, doing well. No wars, no subsidizing wars, no nothing. Then the first 3 years of Biden's, let's not put names behind it. Let's not even put dates behind it. Let's just show those 23-year-olds, here's 3 years of a president, here's 3 years of a president. Which president would you rather have lived under? And I'll guarantee you they'll pick the 3 years from Trump. But being indoctrinated for 23 years through our public school systems and our colleges and universities, well, not 23 years, they got to be old enough to get there. Well, it's about 2 or 3 today. They start them in preschool, so close to it, 20 years probably. They'll probably look at the Trump 3 years and say, that must have been a Democrat, because that's part of the indoctrination. So if you want to continue going down the road we're going right now, with the race and gender bullshit, with teaching kids to hate each other depending on the color of their skin, teaching kids that, you know, lop off body parts, it's okay. Don't let them grow up and try and figure things out. No, let's just, it's just, but I'd love to do that experiment and see what would happen. Because look at right now, our wonderful, I put an Instagram post reel up yesterday about this. Our piece of shit state attorney here, that Letitia James, she campaigned on getting Donald Trump. Okay, this whole fraud bullshit, he frauded the banks with his real estate holdings. You know, Mar-a-Lago, he claimed was worth like $18 to $20 million. He frauded the bank getting loans using that because it's really only worth $15 million. So he overinflated. Well, first of all, the fucking banks made a ton of money loaning Donald Trump money. Second of all, she a fucking real estate expert? Because guess what? Saw a thing yesterday, and any one of you can look this up. Look up real estate down there next to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. And she claimed the same thing in New York City and stuff. There's a place, Mar-a-Lago is 17 acres of oceanfront property. I mean, it's a golf course. It's a beautiful place. You've all probably seen it. There's a place not too far away, a few miles away down the road, that's not oceanfront property. That's just this big, I think it's ugly, but big fancy mansion and shit that, you know, I think it was listed 7 or 8 bedrooms, 3 or 4 bathrooms, whatever, $37 million. Yeah. But yet she's claiming Mar-a-Lago was apparently only worth 15. And at the time he had said it was worth somewhere between 18 and 20 to use it to get loans. They will do anything they can to keep that fucking man from coming back because he was exposing the swamp. If you all want to live with the swamp, because it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans too, or excuse me, the rhinos, the Republican in name only. If you want to live under the thumb of this bullshit, why don't you move the fuck out and go to Cuba or Venezuela or something like that and let the rest of us actually fight for our country? Now I'm done.